Okay, so we finally got a little bit of scenery done, and it is right here at the scrap yard, and put in a concrete apron, redid the road out there because it needed it. That's another little thing that's coming up here. Added some vegetation, the trucks, ballasted the track, did a little bit of detail work, and yes, it was fun to finally get to something model related and not be working on track and wiring. Now this is actually an end of December purchase, and I don't think we ever talked about it, but I did pick up an SD40-2 scale trains in CSX, that Conrail car, three more of the bulkhead flats. Yep, he's back there. Sorry, lots of stuff everywhere. An extra auto rack, two more of the finger rack flats, and then also, sorry, making you dizzy there a little bit, picked up a couple more of the coil cars. So that's my scale trains coil car train right there. So that was actually end of December, so I don't want to get too far out, but I don't think we ever talked about it. So okay, so I've been having some issues here, and the issues I thought were power related from how I had the power feeders connected to the track. So right here I have insulated rail joiners here and here, and that's because this section of track is being powered by the booster in the command station. This section is being powered by the DB220, and so they're different power blocks, so they're isolated so they don't cause an issue. Every time I had a train on this track go over that bump, now I can't say every time, sometimes it would short out, and I had feeders right here. Okay, so I thought, well, maybe for some reason the feeders being right here that close, I was overloading something. I don't know, didn't make any sense to me. Tried a bunch of different things, nothing seemed to work. All right, then I came over here and I said, all right, screw it. I'm not going to power right here, right next to the joint. I'm going to put this feeder on the power routed section for going into the Y. Okay, so that means the only time that I would have power here would be if this switch was turned and we needed to power this little section. Otherwise, all of this would be powered from the connection that's right up the way here. So it's less than a flex track length away. That didn't work. Still was shorting out. Not all the time, just sometimes. Finally, I went, all right, maybe there's an out of phase setup between the booster and the booster inside the command station. So I adjusted that. If you have a Digitrax system, your booster should come with a little booklet and tell you how to do that. I also am going to have a how-to video on it, but for now, your booklet should tell you how to do it. It's not difficult. Everything ran fine. It was great. Okay, I was out of sync. Either the voltage on one side was too high, the voltage on the other side was too low, whatever it was. Now I got it in alignment. We should be good. Ran beautifully the rest of the night. Until I shut off the command station, went to bed, came back Friday evening, same issue again. Doesn't look like the command station held the adjustment. So I've made the adjustment. I'm waiting for my trains to come back around. As soon as they do, we're going to see what the deal is. Okay? Because if it worked again, then that means my command station, when it gets powered off, is not remembering the settings. So the voltage trim is off. We're going to see. Okay, so here comes my test train. And let's see how she does. And the spot we want to watch her for is right here. So when it hits there, if you start seeing lights going on and off, we have an issue. And nope, that seems to be the fix. So there you have it. Now I got to figure out why it's not holding that setting. So that's to be continued. Something else that I worked on, and this is actually a weird one. I don't even know how this happened, but I redid this inner loop here. And the reason I did is because I had little tiny track in there. And what I mean by little tiny track is the tightest radius I wanted on my main lines was 11-inch radius. So for those of you who wonder what that is this guy right here, the 282. Yep, well, that wasn't a 282 in there. That was a something else. It was a 242 or 216, whatever it was a 9 3/4 inch radius turn. And so when I was having my Amtrak coaches come around here, they were getting to about right there, and then they were getting ripped right off the track because the turn was too tight and the coupler swing wasn't lined up, and boom, off they went. So now that that's been fixed, we are back in business. Don't have any coupler issues. It did result in me having to fabricate kind of a weird little piece right here to make that work. That's just the Kato unit track meeting up with the flex track. So works just fine. Train's been rolling over it, no issue. That little piece needs to fit back in there, but it's not going anywhere because the piece is so tiny. I don't have an issue. But we're back up and running. Hey, track, let's talk about track because I have track. So I've got a new Y put in, and I got that passing siding, no yard back there, too inaccessible, just a nice straight track. And then that comes all the way down here to some new track. I know it's very straight, it's very boring. I may change that, I haven't decided yet. A little bit of a crossover. Oh, wait, you can't see any of the track. But can you see what's going on there? Yep, I've got myself a future bridge scene, and I'm very excited about that. I got the last 3 in that light blue color, and I really wanted that light blue color. So that is going to be how we tie the intermodal yard together. And then, of course, right here, we are starting to make our way down. This is going to be a yard. I'm going to redo this. I don't want these number 6s in here. I want number 4s. So I'm going to replace those. But now we can start making this connection and then making the layout loop around. And all of a sudden now we're tying in the rest. So very excited about getting that going, because that means all of the trains that I have still sitting in boxes under here are soon going to have a home. And that will be awesome. I know, ugly as hell, isn't it? But this is how I built my helix. And it's only funny if it doesn't work, but it do. And it is probably the best working helix I've built. And all right, so a lot to this. Let me explain to you why it looks like hell, but what my rationale was. If you have watched this channel for any length of time, you know that I have quite a list of things that I absolutely hate. And real high on my list of things that I absolutely hate is helixes. They don't look realistic. They are nothing but a pain in the ass, because usually you don't have the space that you need to, and if you do, you're taking up space that you could be put in nice scenic layout. But then again, if you want a double decker, you got to be able to somehow get your trains from the bottom to the upper, and unless you have the space where you can just run your entire layout as a grade, which takes a lot of planning, you're gonna end up with a helix. Okay, I have built helices, I think helices is the plural, but I have built these stupid ass things out of many different materials. I have used hardboard, I have used plastic, I have used I've gone on with the grade approach, and in all my cases I end up with grades that do not work, just do not work, and it drove me nuts. I was so disgruntled and just so upset with every helix that I ever ran, and I understand it was my fault, and they take a lot of math and they take a lot of design, and okay, that's enough about the pain in the ass these things are. I came up with a way to build them so much easier. And I got the inspiration of all things from YouTube. I saw somebody else who had a helix, was using it for an HO scale, and it looked to me like it was nothing more than foam board. And I went, well, wait a minute. That's a normal material. I can get that at Walmart. I can get that at Hobby Lobby. I can get that at Michael's. I can get it at Target. You can get it pretty much everywhere that sells any kind of craft material. But, okay. Stopped out at Walmart during lunch break. Boom. Foam board. $1.99 a sheet. Now, why is that important? Because if you buy a pre-cut, pre-measured, pre-engineered system, they're a few $100s, and all it is cut foam board. And it's like, well, that's stupid. Why would I spend that money when I can just cut it myself? Okay, well, the answer is simple. Because it's a pain in the ass to cut it yourself. That's why you do. That's why you spend $200. Me, I wanted to be a little cheap because, you know, I spent my money on the scale train stuff and Kato Unitrack, and I'm like, screw it. This isn't a part of the layout nobody's ever going to see. No one's ever going to care about. All it needs to do is work. Well, guess what? That's what happened. It works. It is at a perfect 2% grade. It runs beautifully. I've tested it with a 4-axle diesel and 6 cars. Pulled them up, not a problem. And they say, well, that's not a lot of cars. No, but that, if you recall, was my test. I was averaging on a 2% grade. I was getting about 6 cars with a locomotive. So I went, okay, if this can pull 6 cars, then it's going to be all right. Not an issue. Not an issue. It's the same grade all the way up. It's running, those are the 348s, the R348s. So it's a pretty wide radius. It's got a nice little flat area in between. And yeah, so I'm happy, right? Because it works and it's solid. You know, it doesn't look like it's solid. It looks like hell, but it's not going anywhere. It doesn't buckle or move or anything. It's all, you know, it's wired in there. I'm moving the table. I don't know if you can see that in the camera or not, but it's moving the bench work, not the, nothing else here. I have not glued the track down yet. I wanted everything to be fully connected and tested, but once you glue the track down, it's going to be even more sturdy because, of course, I've got the Unitrack road bed. This would this would work if you were doing flex track, but if you're going to do flex track, you've got a lot more mathing to do. And I actually came up with a way that I did not have to pre-math. I didn't have to pre-measure. I kind of cut everything as I went. And I know some of you are thinking, well, yeah, well, it kind of looks that way. I get it. It's not pretty. It's functional. So my little engineering mind was very happy with the end results of this. And that's what's important. It's not going to win any beauty contests. It's not going to get mass produced and marketed to the free world as a new invention. What it does is it is built in place. I have a solid foundation for this thing. I trusted it enough to run scale trains equipment up and down it to make sure it worked. Okay, so you know how much I prize my scale train stuff. Would not do that if I didn't think it was going to hold. It runs beautifully. I used some scrap pieces to make some railings, just in case. There's always the chance that a coupler breaks or derails, or some cars want to go flying down the track, and I don't want them smashing onto the hard basement floor. So I put that on there sort of as a insurance policy, but it's good. Now, what I do want to take you to is a little situation that I got going on down below here. All right. And no, that's not an invitation for those of you who got your mind in the gutter. Let me show you what I'm talking about. All right. See this little guy down here? And when I say little guy down here, I mean this little guy right here. This is the bottom track. That is the lower yard. It does not go up the helix. Originally, I was going to have two helices, double main line, and they both went up. Problem is, to get this grade where I have it right here, I had to start my 2% grade way down on the other side of the furnace. And so I could not make up this track, which was level right here, I couldn't make up the grade without going to some ridiculous percentage. It was never going to work. So in order to get around that, I just returned this track back on itself. Now, all that did was create a loop. It's actually not even a reverse loop because of the direction in which it comes in. So a train that's on the lower level can stay on the lower level, and it can run right through here. And because of where it is reversing to, it is not a reverse loop. The train will actually continue on the direction it was heading either way. So it worked out very, very well. I'm going to unclip you here, and I'm going to take you for a little bit of a ride just so you can hopefully see that condition. So there's the yard back there, and then the track comes around here. It's under here, and yes, I did run a double stack train under there because it looks tight, right? It is. It's let's just say the engineer better not sneeze. And then it starts a 2% grade right there before it disappears into a connection point. And that connection point, I made sure was somewhere where I could get to it just in case some bullshit happened. I'm going to put some guardrails up there to protect it, but it's solid. Once again, I've run trains over it to make sure, and I trusted enough with my scale trains, so we're good. Okay, scale trains. Let's talk about scale trains. No, that's not scale trains. That's the Kato big boy. But scale trains has a delivery coming to me tomorrow, and that is some GP30s. That is their first 4-axle diesel in N-scale. And there's going to be a review. You know there's going to be a review. So get ready for that. Looking forward to seeing what's going on there. And I just realized that that is not the full train. So I'm missing cars somewhere. And I don't see where. So found them. Fun. So much for the emergency brake kicking in. Well, we're going to take these 3 off because I'm not reversing that entire train just to pick up 3 cars. So we're just going to put these little guys on the back here. Okay, so let me holler at you here for just a second, tell you what's coming up in February. And actually the weather has gotten extremely warm here in the last couple of days. And it's been kind of nice, actually, in the 50s. So I'll take 50s over, -10. But that doesn't mean we're going outside. No. It's still hobby season. We're still staying indoors, and we're still hobbying. But there's a lot coming up in February, lots of things to do, and I think what I'm gonna do, and I don't want to do it, but I'm gonna do it anyway, and that is I'm gonna spend some time getting the rest of this track from temporary to final. And the reason is because all of the issues that I chase with my trains right now is because I've got these temporary conditions where the track's not set flat, or the joints are a little rough, or soldering where the wires are things need done. And it's just general housekeeping that I planned on getting to once I, got around to it. Well, I'm tired of chasing derailments and having short circuits and all that. So I think I'm going to spend just a couple of hours. There's only a few trick spots, and I'm going to take care of those while I'm there and just be done with that mess. And so my track plan is what my track plan is at that point. So that's in the works for February. Okay, so my plan was to get more track and make that a Valentine's Day gift to myself. I was going to get some more track and keep on working on the upper level. Yeah, and then the scale trains order came in, and there's 4 locomotives coming. And I was like, ooh, well, that's a little rough. But technically that is in January, which means I wouldn't have spent anything yet in February. So maybe, I don't know. But for right now, we're going to let those locomotives come in. We're going to see how they work and how they operate. Yes, there will be a video coming out on those. I don't know if I'm going to make you wait until next Saturday or if I'm going to do an intermediate video sometime in the middle of the week. Haven't decided yet. There's also going to be a video. If you guys have not yet voted in the poll on the communities tab, get out there and vote on that. It's a fun one. It is what is the locomotive brand you have the most problems with. Last I checked was a day or so ago, and it was 155 folks had voted. I think that's a record for the number of people who have voted. So voice your opinion, post your comment, and we're going to go ahead and jump into that controversy because, hell, what's model railroading without a little bit of anarchy? So we'll go through all that and see who hates what, and I'll talk to you about some of it. And some of the stuff that I saw posted, I'm not surprised at all. I agree with it. Some of it I'm very surprised at. So we'll get into it and we'll talk about it, and we'll go from there. So that's coming up. Okay, my plan was simple. I was just going to keep working my way around the layout here with scenery until I got this all connected back. So that means my next scene that I'll be working on starting this weekend is the night rain scene. Yes, I've been hinting at it forever and ever and ever, and it's finally going to happen. So get ready for that. There is a chance. There's a chance that I may start working on this scene. And just so you understand my vision here, this is going to be the port scene, right? There's my boat. That's going to be the intermodal yard. I'm going to extend that maybe just a little bit because I kind of want to push it down that way a little bit. But I'm going to extend that bridge scene down a little bit. And then I'm going to rework the yard just a little bit more so that I get more intermodal traffic stored in there. And then if I can get a little more intermodal traffic stored in there, that means I'm going to have less stuff stored in the hidden staging yard, which means I'm going to have more space for some other trains, maybe some work trains, maybe some other passenger trains, like maybe the Cato Rainbow era set, maybe. I don't know, not to get into specifics. You know, maybe some more coal cars. I'm going to have a yard up there with probably 3 or 4 more tracks. I'm going to have a yard over here and then one on the other side. I don't know. I haven't decided yet, but I'm going to start getting into a little bit of modeling. I want to break away from doing the wiring. I do have to run wire, so there's no wire up here for this upper section. It's all lower right now, so I need to run all that over. I need to fix some wires that I pulled apart when trying to figure out this whole mess. So I've got a lot of housekeeping to do, right? Like I said, it's still a disaster down here, but it's getting better. And I did clean up this corner, so this actually was sticking out a little bit more, and you kind of had to scooch past here. But I trimmed this all off. No, it's not going to get fascia. It's not going to get properly fixed until it's warm enough for me to go outside and do that. Yeah, it's 50, but it's been pouring down rain and thunderstorming all day, so not gonna happen. But a lot of stuff going on here, right? I got a lot of different projects, so no matter what the mood is that strikes me, I'm either going to be working on track, working on wiring, working on track over there, maybe running some trains, maybe working on some scenery. A lot of stuff I'm going to be working on here, but whatever it is, you guys are going to be along for the ride. So until the update next month, stay tuned to the channel. Oh, speaking of updates next month, very, very close. Very close. Going to be launching the Patreon page. So there's 6 videos right now that have already been shot, already been edited, ready to rock and roll. And they are a basic how-to series. I cover bench work, I cover foam work, I cover wiring, and now I'm going to start covering some basic scenery stuff. So get ready for that. It's going to launch probably in March if everything keeps going the way it's going, and then you can really get inside my brain. It is a little bit more free form. It's a little bit more open as far as the dialogue goes, and it's just going to be a little bit different, but it's kind of you getting inside my mind so you know what I'm doing, why I'm doing it, and that it's not just magic that happens. There is rationale behind what I'm doing, and so you get to be part of that. So stay tuned for that announcement coming sometime towards the end of February. All right, folks, that is it for this month. Whatever you're doing in your hobby room, just remember, make sure you're having fun. This is a hobby, and there is so much to do and so much fun to have. Just make sure you don't forget about that while you're trying to get your projects done. And next week, let's talk about your least favorite locomotives. Can you guess who's on my list?